have enough people. Logan and I will always say that you want to establish your anchor ad, right? Your anchor ad being, it's kind of your benchmark ad. So you're going to always be using your best performing ad or the highest performance ad you've ever had as your anchor ad, but you're always going to be trying to beat that, right? So there should be a lot of testing going on within your Facebook funnels, primarily out of the, what we really want you to really work at is that seller's property valuation conversion template. Okay. So there's a reason that one has got over, I mean, I don't know if you guys can see it when you're going through your funnels, but you can see there's thousands of people on that one. All the other funnels, I personally would stay away from. There's not a lot of stats on that. I haven't seen anything that comes close to the conversion percentage in terms of clicks to contacts on that one. And it's funny, we have all these available templates for you, but it always goes back to the winner, right? Go back to the winner. And just remember that you can run variations of that. And we'll talk, again, more of that in another meeting. Here is really want to talk about converting. So Anna, you want to hear about the guy who is getting 3 emails for every $1 he spends. Well, that's just, he just got lucky and tapped into the Tulsa County in Oklahoma. And it just an ad that just took off. Like that's just to show you, he didn't do anything spectacular or different than anybody else. He ran an ad just like you would run at $9 a day. And he just so happened to be generating 30-cent emails. Pretty remarkable. So that it just goes to show you, you have to keep on testing. You want, I mean, if you guys are running your macro test, run countywide test and test it as many ways as you possibly can and keep on testing. Because don't ever assume that first few hundred people will reach is the representation of that entire area, right? Especially when you're running a county one. I mean, as you can imagine, you want to tap into that algorithm and know within a few hundred people reach if that ad is going to be great. I don't know if about you, but if you guys have done any split testing with those, you pretty much know within the first few hundred people reach and $5 to $10 spent if that's going to be a hot ad or not. Like I haven't seen an ad that all of a sudden you've spent $10. It started off at like a horrible cost per click and then it turns around the other way. Nobody has. But we've seen the opposite end where you start off with the ad, it hits well, and it continues to go well. So that being said, you want to be aggressive when you're going to split testing ads. I'd rather have you do a half a dozen variations of that seller conversion template using the terrain, using the map, using the satellite, test them all, as well as consider testing the zip codes, the areas by naming them out, as well as dropping the pin. Because as we know, all those single tests or single changes you make on the targeting will ultimately affect, it's a single test. It will ultimately affect the algorithm of Facebook. So any one of those can take off. We see it all the time. Logan, you always give that comparison of that one ad that you were talking about. What was that one that you said of the satellite image?
Yeah, it was in an area in the Bronx. And I mean, long story short, really the individual wanted to use an image of a home with a for sale sign, like everybody kind of likes to try to use. We convinced him to go with the map image. He was somewhat opposed to it at first. And then we ran 2 variations, one simple satellite, one map plus terrain. Basically, the cost differential was 3 times. So he had something like a 60-cent per click on one and $2 click on the other. $6 leads to $2.50 leads, or $3 leads on the other one. It was quite a considerable difference. And whether or not it was the image or whether or not it was just the right first 500, hard to be said, but that's the importance of split testing. And that's something that we really push on a lot here. And something I did get one private message here from Larry here, who is getting lots of traction in his account. But some of the leads were giving fake email addresses, and sometimes the quality isn't what people are looking for. So keep in mind, there's 2 sides of this equation. There's ad metrics, incredibly important. If the ad metrics aren't good, pause the ad, start again. If the leads that you're bringing in, let's say the ad metrics are good, but the leads you're bringing in maybe aren't reachable, aren't what you're looking for, same thing. Pause that ad and start the exact same ad again. And the likelihood of you finding a better traction, so to speak, by finding a new first 500 is incredibly likely. So don't stop testing. That's the importance of split testing. That's the importance of keeping up on it.
Logan and I, if you come to any of our meetings or live workshops, we have two different approach. I'm like, I'll be super aggressive. He's like 24 to 48 hours later, you make your decision. I'm like, launch 6 different variations of ads, all at $9 a day, wake up the following morning and start deleting, right? Because if you do half a dozen campaigns, all variations of particular area that you want to be in, but then you wake up in the morning and they're all launched at $9 a day, but you wake up in the morning, you've only spent, let's say, $3 or $4 on all of them. You're going to have some pretty solid data no matter what, because your CPC will be established. You'll start seeing cost per lead. You'll start seeing certain ones are trending under $1. The other ones only have a click or two on it. Maybe you got 1 click on one of those ads at $3 a click. You obviously turn that one off, right? So why not just be more aggressive with your funnels than wait one ad at a time? Why are you guys, creating one ad and letting it ride and spend a bunch of money and not getting your results? that's
the idea with split testing is really to save yourself money long term. People are oftentimes a little gun shy to run 3-4 ads initially because it's, well, I'm watching my budget. I'm being cautious with my funds, and that's smart. Obviously, marketing, you don't want to just throw money at a problem always. However, the idea with the split test and the way that we recommend it is to maybe spend a little bit more for a 48-hour period of time, or like Marcus was saying, you can be a little bit more aggressive. But I'd say 48-hour window where you maybe budget to spend a little bit more money to identify the best ad in the best area, the best angle. And once you've identified that, you don't need to run 3, 4, 5 ads. You run 1 ad, right? I mean, our top producing agents all do the same thing. They find that area, they lock that anchor ad in, and then as they're increasing their ROI on the platform, then they start building and running more and multiple ads, and then build teams around it and systems around those leads. But it all starts with 1 ad. So it starts with multiple ads, and then you lock in that anchor ad.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at one of our longest standing clients, well, at least on the success side, when we always talk about Donna, when she's done that 120 deals, I recently went and looked at her dashboard just to see how many ads she's running and how much money she spends a day. Okay, so I don't know if you guys think that she's doing this on a $9 a day ad budget, but she's not. So she started with a $7 to $9 ad budget within the first few months. And as she got success and defined her process, then she scaled that. And so the 120 listings that she's got out of StreetText is not just by a funnel and a $9 a day ad. It's now at $60 and 4 different funnels. Okay. Some of those funnels are $18 a day. Some of those funnels are 15, some are 12, depending on the area she's running it in. So the idea of scaling your budget is, I think, a great thing to consider once you've defined your process. But you first got to define your process, and then I find that what makes her successful is not only A, defining her process, but then 2, time blocking that process every day, non-negotiable, right? I don't know if do you guys all have a time block, or have you established a time block where you work on your seller leads? Yeah. Who hasn't established a time block yet? What are you smiling about, Keisha, over there? Okay, this is a mastermind, guys. So this is the time to chat and not just listen to me and Logan talk. So what we want.
Being honest, Marcus. I'm just going to be honest. Not everybody's going to be honest and say that they are not, time blocking. But right now, my life is a little crazy, so I'm just riding the wave.
Riding the wave.
Just riding the wave.
The life of a realtor. Yep.
Well, I'm just going to keep on encouraging you to ride that wave, even if it means a 30-minute block, to ride that, make those non-negotiables. Because if you're running an ad and you're having any sort of frequency of leads come in, then there also has to be a frequency and a defined process for you to recognize any sort of progress. And also define if that progress or that process you're actually working with is working. Ultimately, if your leads are not dialoguing with you, then there's a disconnect. Something's happening that you need to change. Because if you're accumulating leads, which means you're tapped into a Facebook ad and a funnel that's capturing contact information, then what is your automation doing to start the conversation for you? That's step number 1. And are you using your automation? And number 2, what's your personal follow-up like? And that's the key. Is like, I'm just curious, for anybody that's had any success, and this is a time to kind of just open up the mic and talk about any success you've had. What got you to that success? At least consistently. You're going to get the lucky ones that come in and reply and tell you about it, right? But I want to hear about, from the moment you captured that email and then information, it doesn't have, it could be an address only, it could be a partial email, could be some work, it could be the people that say just curious. What have you seen any sort of consistency with your own process yet? And I'm going to open up the mic right now. And if I don't hear someone respond in the next 15 seconds, I'm going to start calling you out. So
what was the question? I was drinking tea. Sorry.
So the question is, if you've had any success with any of your leads, and I'm not talking about the success starts with me, with the conversation, with the dialogue getting started. If you can get a conversation started, then I'm pretty confident that you can take the next level. And if you can't take the next level, then we just need to work on the questions you're asking. Right?
Oh, yeah. No, I as you know, I'm on the trial and started on Friday, and I think I've had 4 seller leads, and I've already reached out to all of them. But what I've done is I've gone onto Next Door Neighbor, because I'm on that, and I've messaged them privately, and one of them responded. So I've sent them all a small CMA. In other words, I haven't given them all the information because they didn't give me their emails. I wanted them to respond, and I'm not giving them everything up front.
Awesome. Hey, good on you for doing that. That's take action. We had a gentleman that talked about it a couple masterminds ago that literally hands a CMA to every single address and introduce himself at the door. That's
right.
taking action. That's introducing yourself. If you can't get face-to-face, then you got to figure out how you're going to do it, because if you think the system's going to do it for you, it's not until you start personalizing and customizing that system. That's why we talk about BombBomb as being one of the most important ones that you can utilize. Now, the workaround that there is an article that Isaac wrote about how to do a workaround with YouTube. But I just don't think the experience is going to be that great from the homeowner's point of view. We want the experience to be great. We want the experience to be consistent. And I ultimately want every single one of you to start recognizing that we need to humanize the process. We need to get them to the whole know, like, and trust model, to get them to know us and like us and trust us. And so I think there is a disconnect if you're not taking that communication back to Facebook, or at least encouraging that communication to go back to Facebook. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Linda, you said you had a process that you wanted to share as well?
Yes. Okay, so I'm with Alexia Realty Group in Las Vegas, and what we do, first thing in the morning, I go through the leads, and I know Julie sends out her little text messages, and then if people respond to them personally, I'll get in there. But I process our leads first thing in the morning, then I'll do it again half hour in the middle of the day, and then at the evening again. And then I'll work sometimes like really late on those address onlys, but it seems to work really well, and we are communicating with lots of our leads.
Great. Yeah, and that's the idea, is with the whole speed to lead idea, it used to be much more important for you to be able to make sure that you're responding to these people right away, because obviously when they're on social media, they're clicking around, they're seeing other things. They are going to be targeted by other agents as well. And if they don't hear from you or somebody within your organization very quickly, the likelihood of them being kind of brought in by somebody else is quite great, right? So the idea with the whole Julie automation is that we know if they enter their phone number, 3 minutes later, they're going to be sent that text message. Now, the default text messages I think work phenomenally well. However, you can also make sure you remember you can get in and put your own fingerprints on this. This is your assistant. Once again, I always put this as you can train your assistant to say to these leads exactly what you want at exactly the right time. If you'd like less of a delay or more of a delay, more text, less text, you're fully in control of that. And you can kind of shape your follow-up exactly the way that you see fit. But keep in mind, as soon as any of these leads do respond to Julie, you guys get notified and you can take it over right away, right? So then you keep that conversation going. We've never seen a good AI system that keeps those conversations going that doesn't sound a little bit off, I guess I'll put it. So the idea here is we get that conversation started so that you can really cement that and solidify the conversation, turn it back to yourself as the agent by, once, we always say the same thing, reference who you are and give your phone number. So, hey, so-and-so, thanks so much for reply. I'm going to be passing your information over to Logan. He's going to follow up with you within the hour. Here's his number for your reference. Or once again, the whole booking of the appointment. Logan's showing homes in your area today. Why don't I get him to pop by and say hello when he wraps up? Something like that. But start using that automation to book yourself appointments, get yourself in front of these people, and more importantly, ask those tough questions, right? Same thing, I always reference this as well, is the fact that you can ask questions from that assistance angle, that it just comes off a lot easier than if you are the agent and just asking those questions that seem like you're pestering, right? You can uncover their true motivation. And Linda, we kind of helped you guys with that individual who was not quite ready to sell their home yet, but we had to figure out why. We figured out that they were needing to buy first, right? Okay, great. Now tell you what, let me help you do that. Let's find what your budget is for your home. Then we can, move forward with the transaction. But don't forget how important that automation is.
Right. And I have one more thing to say too. So another thing what we do is we enter our leads, like this particular individual that we're talking about now. I go into our website and I enter her into our buyers market analysis and our sellers market watch. So we provide them with reports monthly. And so we keep them under the radar at all times, and we utilize all our tools on our website and StreetText as much as we can to keep in touch with these leads.
Perfect. Yeah. And then you're able to follow up and track their activity, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the people that you put on those systems, the ones who are more active, obviously you're able to spend a little bit more time on, right? And
Right.
for me, for somebody who is considerably more active, they're opening my emails, I can see their activity. I may even show up if you haven't already done so, show up at their door, do a quick door knock, introduce yourselves, right? Come over with, maybe a small gift or a plate of treats or something like that. You and Alexio just go up and introduce yourselves. I think that
Alexio is known for bringing a little box of chocolates.
perfect. No, I think it's a really nice touch. Baked goods used to work really well. Now people may be a little leery of homemade baked goods this day and age, but showing up with something of value for me, I always like gifting something that's local to me. So maybe if I'm going to do a gift card or something like that, it's not going to be a chain restaurant. It's not going to be some big organization. It's going to be something with a local flavor to the area that they live in and that I'm trying to become more known in. So, if it's a small box of chocolates, if you guys have like a local chocolatier, whatever you want to call them, or something like that would be a unique little angle. Try something like that.
Hey guys, I'm curious, how many of you are utilizing an embedded video in your introduction? Yes. Okay. Now, how many of you have got a reply from that embedded video introduction? Couple? Cool. Okay. That's good. Now, let's talk about so are you guys using this? Which video are you using? Are you using Marley's example? Yes. Okay. So let's just, for those of you who don't know or haven't been in the course that we created called the Blueprint, let me share with you what that looks like so you can all see and let's discuss it, because ultimately this is a mastermind to talk about things that you like, things that you don't like, maybe talk about things that you're doing a little bit differently. You don't have to follow script, meaning you may find, I came up with that script and it seems like everybody wants to follow it, but that doesn't mean it's the way. That there means that you guys are in the field. You guys are experiencing the results. You guys are experiencing the replies on that. So if it's not working for you, then obviously something needs to change. And ultimately, still ask yourself this. When you go in, or maybe have a family member go in, have a colleague go into the funnel, ask them if they would reply, right? Have them go through your funnel and ask them, does it feel authentic? Does it feel personable? Does it feel like you would connect with that? Because if it does come across as at all scripted, then it's probably going to feel scripted for that person receiving it. And I would just encourage you to continue trying until you can get it to a place where, it feels like you're genuinely, authentically wanting to serve and help that person. And because that no is the first thing they see for the first time, like, oh, this is a real person that's going to work with me. But the like ability comes down to this instant connection, and it often has everything to do with your body language and tonality, right? So if you come across as you're reading a screen and it's like almost like a machine, they're going to read that and they're going to be like, no way. And you're not going to get any replies. Okay. So the raw, real, and relatable aspect of this is so big. It really is. And if it doesn't feel that way, then that they're going to feel that as well. And I just want to encourage you that. So at least on the automated level, if you're going to use an automated video, that's the one that's constantly going out with every new submission coming in. And it's not going to always be read. So the personal side of this is just as important, because you're going to personally follow up with a video as well. And you may have a canned response for that too that feels real. Or you may be that person that literally takes the whiteboard out, writes their name on the whiteboard, and individually sends a video out to every single person. Why I like BombBomb so much is if I send that one personally, I know if it's been opened, I know if it's been watched, and I know if there's any links in there that have been clicked on. So I think there needs to be this whole idea of, just like we're breaking down our cost per lead model with the marketing budget, there's this whole idea of you need to still break down your conversion model too. If you can't find that there's not a way for you to consistently analyze and break down that process to see if it's actually being received and opened, then you need to look at that too. Because then ultimately, how are you supposed to truly measure this? Yeah, I mean, there is going to be a lot of people. We've got to remember, we're talking about top of funnel marketing, where you're going to have a large amount of people initially who are just curious, don't really want, to be bothered, and that's okay. This is where in the future, the retargeting aspect of StreetText is going to be huge for you guys, because we're going to have video newsletter updates, which is also going to get you more comfortable in front of the video, of course. Video newsletter updates about what's happening in the market. And it's always going to follow them in their newsfeed, right? But I think the key on this, guys, is to start looking at this as you are an influencer. Whether you know it or not, you are an influencer. And you want to start thinking about, how am I going to create influence over this database? How am I going to get them to know me, like me, and trust me as the expert in the real estate industry? And that's the key. That's why I always encourage you guys to bring it back to your personal Facebook environment when possible, because that instantly gives you the ability to influence their newsfeed every day. Because as soon as you guys are friends, it'll start showing up what you post. And I love using, and I wish she was here, but I love using Marley Walters' example, because if she was the perfect candidate to shoot that video, because I'll share her personal Facebook with you. If you look at her personal Facebook, it's a perfect mix between the likability side and the professional side. And so we're going to want to bring him back in, because it's truly an instant ability to connect. And you never know, truly, if you're farming your market, you never know if you guys have mutual friends, likes, values, interests, and so forth. So you want to bring them back to that place. You have 5,000 people that can be your friends. If you have too many friends right now, you might really want to think about how many of those friends should be in your friends database. Like I recently did a complete purging of the friends, because I had, back in the day when Facebook was allowing me to do mass exports of realtors into Facebook. Now it's no longer possible. We've all tried it, I guess, at this point. But I now know from the 2,700 friends down to the 800 now that I just narrowed it down to, I kept the ones I've had dialogue with. And ultimately the thing too is, a lot of those people that you start adding into a friends list today, and we're going to talk about that because it's important. Now you know where they are, and ultimately they're going to cross over into multiple lists. The way I look at it is, you could create address only lists, you could create just curious lists, you can create 3 months out, 6 months out, wherever they tell you about the conversation. But at least you know where now they are in those pipelines. So you can always revisit them and check in. And once you know they are, you can do a video for the check-in for these guys and post directly to that list and exclude certain people. So once you have them to certain lists, you can now create posts directly to specific lists and exclude certain people. That's why you should also create lists for all your realtor peer groups, because you don't necessarily need to be showing all your realtors what you're doing either. Exclude them out of a lot of the stuff you don't want them to see.
Also, on top of that, don't be shy to like other people's posts and items, right? I mean, it's very important to hack the algorithm, so to speak, right? You're always telling Facebook you're more connected to people than maybe you are, right? The more Facebook thinks you're connected, the more organically they're going to put yourself in front of those individuals. So, look for items that you have in common. Look for items that you can share. We used the example yesterday of, for me, I'm a big sports fan. I love the Toronto Blue Jays, and I look for that opportunity. If I see somebody that I want a friend, if I see somebody that I want to be more connected with, if I go to their page and they just happen to be a Yankees fan or a Red Sox fan or whatever it is, what better opportunity for me to comment something kind of, maybe for my personality, maybe it's a little bit humorous, right? Because I want to get that reaction back for them. But more importantly, I want Facebook to say, oh, these people know each other. Because the more I'm on their page, the more likely my page will start showing up in front of them. So don't underestimate the importance, once again, of telling Facebook, once again, how connected you guys are. So like their stuff, comment on their things, they're going to start seeing you guys more often.
Yeah, and so it begins with the automation, right? Because the automation, and you can't just assume the automation is going to be received or even read. I mean, that's why you have it, but then you're going to have your personal follow-up too. So the personal follow-up should be a little bit unique and different to that person, but it should also bring back what was originally said, and always include your personal Facebook, I believe, in everything you send. Think of it as like it should be in your email signature at all times. Like, hey, are we Facebook friends? ? Link, boom. Look at this example here.
Hi, I'm Marley with Elevate Real Estate. I got your request for the home price evaluation and I am on it. Oh, and by the way, I left a link to my Facebook profile page below. I'll just be sending you a really quick friend request. Want to make sure you get a chance to meet me. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Cool. Okay, now I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna share her personal Facebook after this, so you can go see, like, if someone got that and they clicked on her personal Facebook profile, I'll show you what they would see as soon as they go to Marley's profile, because I think that connection right there instantly for me is a winning combo. It really is. It's like, okay, cool, I got it. I received it. By the way, I'm gonna send you a friend request. I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to meet me too. So you're basically setting yourself up for success, because you're letting them profile you, and like, they don't like you, who cares? Like, that's their loss. Ultimately, you ultimately only want to connect with people that are going to follow you anyways. And if they don't like you based on what you're saying, what you value, then what does that matter, right? It's a numbers game, right?
I got a question.
Yeah.
So when I send out an email, I can see that they opened it. That's in the taskbar, right?
Yeah, that's it. If you go to the light bulb, click on emails, and absolutely go to records, you can see, particularly with this 9-month-long drip email campaign, that's built in. You can see that.
So we can see the activity when they open it, what time they open it, etc.
Yeah, that should be in there too. That should be if you actually view the lead, it should be in the section there too with the details.
Okay. I've been searching for it, and I currently haven't pushed the right button yet.
Yeah, Larry, you can click on light bulb, click on emails, then you can go to the particular email in question. You can see every time it's been delivered, opened, bounced, when it was opened, if you had links within it, whether it be a video or link to your website or Facebook account. You'll be able to also see whether or not that individual clicked on the links within the email. So click on your light bulb, click on emails, find the email in question. That way you're not able to go through lead by lead as much as you're looking email by email, but that would be the easier view for what you're looking for, I think. Yeah,
and here's the thing, guys. I wouldn't, personally, I'd look at that 9-month-long drip campaign right now, and I would say, do I want this? Is this a representation of me? Is this what I want it to say? Like, if it's you need to look at it as, where's my handprint? Is my handprint on this? Is my personality on this? Is the connection on this? Because I wouldn't let the 9-month-long drip campaign just fire off as is without me getting in there and making sure it's branded to me. Because if you let the system do it, yeah, you're gonna get something. I mean, I see it work for occasionally, but it's like, so does going to Vegas and pulling the slots. It works occasionally, but I want better chances. I want better odds. I want to make sure that every single thing I send is connecting with them and then they are connecting with me. And that's why, I mean, I like these emails, drip campaigns. I think they're important to have, but I don't think they're the end all be all. Like, I think you're the end all be all. Your personality is the end all be all. Like, your connection with that person is the end all be all. Your ability to connect with them is going to be the way that ultimately, if they don't like and trust you, there's no drip campaign that's ever going to connect with them and stay on top of mind if they never ever established. And a lot of that time it's going to go to a spam filter, which is why in my mind, every single lead needs to be profiled on Facebook, and you need to be able to track them on Facebook, and you need to play that game early on. You need to literally think of every single person, address only. Sure, pull up the tax records, find out who they are, send them a friend request, drop them in the address only friend list in the list, and play the numbers. A lot of those people won't accept you, but a lot of people will. But you know what, the one thing you will have is you'll have a list of address onlys that are always in there. And occasionally when you have some downtime, you can go back individually one by one and see where there's a pending request or the friend request has been accepted. The pending request, you simply cancel that request and resend it again. Because eventually this is how it happens. They start noticing, well, there's something about this person. Maybe we should connect. We have mutual friends, like, why does he keep on sending me this? Obviously it needs to be in my sphere. And a lot of people blindly just accept friend requests. So you're going to get a lot of those that just accept it, but ultimately it's going to be this, we call free 99 opportunity for you to be in front of them all the time. And occasionally you're going to check in with a message. Hey, you know, I see 3 months ago, because what you need to make sure you're doing at the same time as sending them a Facebook message, so you can track back when that date was when you sent them something, and you could track back to see when you go to send another message, what's the last conversation you had with them. How are you going to track that if you didn't send them a Facebook message? You're going to have that date and time, and you're going to track to see if it was seen, right? And so, hey, 3 months ago, you know, I sent you that home evaluation. Was wondering if you wanted an updated one. It's a complimentary process. Just checking in.
So do you have a tutorial for all of this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically I probably could create a video for you if you really need help, but I mean, let me just share my screen here and kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about. I forget, I mean, sometimes I've been into this for so long, it's almost second nature for me. So I forget that the technology side is a little bit unique on Facebook. But quickly going back on the reason why I'm on Marley Walters' page is because, remember just a little bit ago, we talked about the automation with her introducing herself and saying, I'm going to friend request you. So, you know, the cool thing about Marley, if I go to her page, the first thing I'm going to see is that she leverages video for everything. Like, look at her just killing it on that climbing wall, right? I'm like, oh, this is inspiring, right? And I can see she's healthy. You know, look at her. She just likes a good meal, a nice glass of wine, and you know, I like that too. You know, you know, likability right there. Like, starting off Friday like this, continue, you know, I mean, this is cool. Like, this is the person that I instantly like, and I'd be really, you know, for somebody that would say no to this, you know, that they're just not the right fit. But I guarantee you a lot of people are going to like what they see, and they're going to trust her, and they're going to be open to talking to them about the home value process. That's what I love about it. Now, when you're thinking of this, like when you go to send a friend request, you have the opportunity as soon as you send that request, like let's pretend Marley was a homeowner. I went and typed in her name. I sent her a friend request. And right where you send that friend request to, because it's right over here, it's just right now we're friends, but you'd have it like, you know, add friend. And you'd click on it, and then it would allow you to add them into a list. And so this is your opportunity right when you go to profile somebody to drop them into a list, Larry. So the list, like I have my workflow right here, right? But you're going to have your workflow and different categories of leads. And so you're going to create a new list, and you're going to create lists for every category you could think of where that lead is in the process. And they can, like, just like you say, have them in StreetText Mastermind referrals, you could have them in multiple lists. So you got to think of multiple layers and categories you can have them in. And you can, you know, when you go to any one of those lists, I'll show you where you're going to be tracking them. But when you go to send them, when you send them a friend request, add them into lists, and then at the same time, you're going to go and send them a message as well, right? That is the key. It's because you'll always be able to track when you sent them those messages. Okay? Does that make sense there, guys?
It does. Need some practice, but makes sense.
Okay, because that's a simple. The 1, 2, 3 is this, right? What you need to learn about early on is the video embedding aspect of this is your initial impression. It doesn't mean it's your only. It's a strong impression, maybe your last impression if it's not a good impression. So, but I don't think it is. I think no sometimes is often just not yet. I don't know who you are. Why should I trust you? So how do you get them to like you? I think it's got to be the ability to win friends and influence people. If you guys ever heard of that book, that's maybe a good refresher. Part of the go-getter or the go-giver, I think there's another book out there, is you want to give first. Be in a scenario where you can connect with them authentically. Be about giving them great information and value first, and just backing off, but always coming from this place of, hey, I just wanted to, and whatever you want to do, obviously check in, wanted to give you a home value. Hey, here's, I could definitely give you a home evaluation, but there's going to be anywhere between X and X price point. And here's what I can do. I can get accurate. What's the great script that you have there, Logan, about your guesstimate whole deal between Zillow, Realtor, and Trulia? What do you call that?
I call it my Zulia approach. Now, and Roberto has a question. We'll let you get to that in one quick sec here, Roberto. I'll just quickly share for those who haven't heard of this approach. I personally, I despise sending CMAs. I never like to send a CMA sight unseen. I don't like to be wrong. You're in a position of expertise, and I like to hold on to that position as tightly as I can. So when I give people an estimated value, I like it to be somebody else who's wrong. And that's the internet, that's Zillow, that's Trulia, that's Redfin, that's Realtor.com. It's all those sites that we know. I think, and this isn't to rip on any of those sites, I think that what they do is as good as they could possibly do, given the information that they have. But when's the last time a Zillow representative showed up at a home to actually look through it and give a proper valuation? It doesn't happen. So what I like to do is lean on that. And I say something like, thanks for your property valuation at whatever your address is. I'd love to be able to offer you an exact valuation. Unfortunately, based on the information you provided me so far, I'm unable to do so. However, what I can provide for you is the internet's best guess. Zillow.com thinks your home is worth $489,000. Trulia thinks it might be closer to $525,000. Realtor.com thinks it's something in the neighborhood of. And I like to use verbiage like that highlights the fact that they really don't know. But then I go on below and say something like, as you can see above, the internet has no idea what your home is worth. However, as a real estate professional, I'd love to be able to provide you that exact valuation. Not only will I be able to help you with the value of your home, I'll also be able to identify some areas in which may need some maintenance. In other words, let me help you get your home market ready. Right? And you can word that in such a way that it sounds very helpful in nature. You're not being aggressive. You're not saying, I'm going to show up and list your home today, which, hopefully when you get there, you can convince them to list. Of course, that's the idea. But you want to get invited. And I find that people are more likely to invite you from that helpful approach. So in other words, once again, let me help you get your home market ready for when you're ready to sell. Then when you show up and they realize that you're a good person, most likely they're going to, if nothing else, I've gotten a lot of people to sign post-dated listings, right? So they're 2 months away from actually getting it on the market. Great. I'd love to be able to help you more on this. Now, why don't we do this? Why don't we get a post-dated listing in place, and you can kind of work on that. But first things first, you need to get in the door. So I like that fairly gentle approach. And full disclosure, it doesn't work for everybody. You're going to get a lot of people who say, I just wanted a value. Why can't you send me that? But it's definitely something that I feel that you guys should give an attempt to, and I've definitely seen a lot of good success with that. Now, Roberto, you had something that you wanted to comment on. Oh, unmute yourself.
I'm unmuting you. I don't think he has the audible option. Larry, did you have something you wanted to say, buddy?
I did. To go along with Logan's kind of scripting there, that was actually one of my best door knocking campaigns with my team, is we would actually print out the first page of Zillow for a community that we were door knocking. We would circle in red and then say, have a little Post-it note that said, want to know what your home's real value is worth. And essentially that's what Logan is saying there. And you could almost do that same thing. You could print out a PDF of their actual evaluation, use a PDF writer, circle in red, and say, hey, look, the internet's all over the board. If you want to know what your home's really worth, I just need to ask you a couple more questions so I can know what's going on with your home, because I'm sure you've done upgrades and you care for it much more than the internet knows about.
Well, I can't tell you how many times I'd get a lead, kind of do my quick CMA, let them know what I thought that value was, say $625. I show up and I realize that it was a rental unit. College kids have been trashing it for the last 4 years. And then I say, okay, well, if you want to list it today, I wouldn't put it on the market for a penny more than, say, $550. Well, why do you tell me $625? Starts the conversation off on a pretty shaky foot, right? So I don't like to be wrong, right? Once again, if I said, the internet thinks your home is $625, great. That's what you're right. That was wrong. However, now that I'm seeing the property, I'm telling you exactly what it would list for today. You don't want $550 for it? Not a problem. Tell you what, let's do a post-dated listing. Let's get some people in here. Let's, I can recommend some people. I'll tell you what, if we're going to put it on the market for what I think it's going to sell for, and we're going to post-date this for say, $625, whatever, I'll put in $5,000 into the staging for you, right? You're going to pay that today, of course. And then upon closing, I'll recoup that $5,000. If I'm going to be making $25,000 to $30,000 from it, what's $5,000? So little things like that you can kind of throw at these people, but it's, once again, keep yourself as the expert whenever possible.
Cool, that was great. So back on, does anyone have any questions particularly on that subject alone? Sherry, did you want to unmute yourself? Go ahead.
Yep, just figuring it out.
No, you're good. You're unmuted.
Oh, okay, great. So I wanted to kind of talk about Instagram. Sorry, I have something in my throat. Is anybody utilizing the Instagram? Because Facebook and the Instagram are kind of merged together. I know that you talk a lot about Facebook, but I'm also doing Instagram just as much. So just kind of looking at that platform, and has anybody had success with that?
Well, first and foremost, just so you know, Marcus, you might have another take on this. Just so you're aware, Facebook and Instagram are already kind of interconnected, and anything that you post on Facebook, you do have the ability to target associated sites in a sense, right? So anything you post on Facebook, there may be the opportunity for it to automatically go to Insta as well. My opinion, if you're targeting sellers, I stick closer to Facebook. Buyers, maybe Instagram. You're going to find more millennials on Instagram than you will on Facebook. So looking for that younger generation, looking for first-time buyers, maybe Instagram could give you an edge there. But if you look at the data and the average everyday users, the amount of overall users, there's absolutely in no way, shape, or form any reason to deviate from the Facebook approach at this time. If and when we identify another platform that seems to be providing better information, better results, we're going to migrate as well. Obviously, we'll be doing multiple platforms. There's just no need at this time, in my opinion, right? Obviously you can take that with a grain of salt, but depending on the clientele you're looking for, and typically our clients are more seller side heavy, I would heavily recommend Facebook, unless once again, you're looking for more first-time buyers.
Okay.
I would second that. I would say, Instagram is definitely the millennial tool, and that's going to serve a lot of buyers. But I think Facebook targeting and marketing is still suited for sellers. It's the top of funnel that we're tapping into, which is why we talk about the know, like, and trust model. This is why we talk about the influencer model. Which is why we talk about you're never going to find a more cost-effective way to build your database, and a big database at that. But your key on here is how do you create an influence over that database? So it is a combination of using scripts like Logan, but it's really, it comes down to getting them to like you and trust you. And then ultimately, you all have great knowledge about the market and ways that you can help give them top dollar for their home and give them advice on what's happening. So, but that won't happen unless they can connect with you, right? So there's this fine line with like having the perfect script. And, I love what Larry said. Like, I think there's this whole idea that we can tap into that like does circle a Zillow type of price point with a big red marker and says, you want to know what your home is really worth, and that you could use that as your address only template. You could probably use it for, anything you send out in the mail. Right. And I think there's a whole nother subject that we're not talking about particularly, which I'm really curious about, is what's being sent in the mail. Is that an effective campaign that's being sent out? Are you putting a postage stamp on that? Are you handwriting their name on that envelope? And, how often is something going out in the mail? Because we don't want to be falling subject to that going in the garbage or in the recycling bin because it was a postcard. That's going to happen all the time. I get those all the time in my mail and I don't even look at them. Okay. The whole what's your home worth thing. Don't be that person. It's just a waste of your money. Make sure that whatever you do end up sending in the mail, if you're going to send anything in the mail, is going to be opened and read. And I think that first piece of mail maybe, again, just like that first email might be the most important one that you send.
Okay, let's see if Roberto's mic's going to work now.
Hey,
You ready?
good morning, guys.
Hey, we hear you.
Hey, Roberto.
Hey, how are you guys? From El Paso, Texas, border with Mexico, guys. Just in case you were wondering. All right, guys, I have a question for you. You were mentioning about incorporating them as your friend in Facebook. Now, I have a business page.
Yes.
And that's where I post the vast majority of my real estate things. My personal life, I keep it completely, yes, some of the videos, I do incorporate them into my business page and I interconnect them. But for the most part, I don't connect both of them. Every time I post something on my business page, I do make sure that it goes to my Fear of Influence, which is my personal page. Do you think then that I should, how do I work that? Because should I ask him to friend me in my personal page and then later on ask him to like my business page? How does this work?
I'll answer that first because Marcus, I think you're phenomenal at answering this one, and I'll just get my little 2 cents in here because we have a little bit of a different approach in that. And Marcus, I don't want to steal all your thunder here. Your business page is your pay to play. That's absolutely where you run your ads from. That's the main your main focus in terms of how you're finding business. Your personal page should be the personal ability to connect with everybody. Now, the one additional thing, other than I'm sure what Marcus is going to go over here, that I put forward is that for me, I did end up creating a second personal page. This is just a simple recommendation for some people. I have a lot of very interesting friends, obviously, that like to comment on my posts and sometimes aren't as professional in nature. I love my friends. We it's a great group of individuals. However, if I was to post something real estate related and I had some of my Yahoo friends decide to comment negatively on them or be funny, it's not the place for it. So what I've decided to do in my own life is I have a personal page that's personal and I have a business personal, right? So my business page is my business page. Then I have a personal page that's connected off that I do all of my relationship building so I can keep that a little bit more tame. On the off chance, like I said, somebody else that I don't want them to stumble across it. So that is an option. It's not always the best option, but it is an option for some people. And I think that Marcus is going to go over is more for everybody in the importance of using your personal page and just being open, honest, transparent, and letting people see who you are as individuals. Yeah.
So I used to follow to Logan and try to separate it, but then I came to the conclusion that your biggest place of influence is going to be your personal Facebook page. And I think the key is you all know that most of the clients you have and serve end up becoming your friends anyways, right? So they're most likely going to become your Facebook friends in the future anyway. So why not start now? So the idea that I have is if you create the friends list, for example, right? And you could think of all these different opportunities to put them in the layers, put them in the list. There's going to be a large percentage of them that are not going to accept your friend request, Roberto, right? And that's okay. But you're going to have a large number of them that are. And so at the end of the day, when you're going to this list, they're going to cross over, and you can actually. The thing I love about this is I can always go to this list and see who's in this list and delete people in this list or put them into another list, because occasionally they're going to go into multiple lists. I know, for example, these people that are in trial right here, I can go to see, specific posts. It really helps me see these as real people too, that I'll go in here and comment and reply and build rapport with, right? Individually message with, I'll go to see all here to see who's in this list. And from time to time, may not be in that list anymore. So I'll take them out and put them into another area and so forth. But the key is when you start this process early enough, you start seeing these as all real people. And it's not just some submission that comes into your StreetText dashboard and, you can't really connect with them. You got to find a way to connect with them face to face. And so that's why the video element of BombBomb is so huge. That's why being consistent with that is going to be huge. That's why getting back to Facebook Messenger is going to be huge. That's why profiling them on Facebook is huge. It's continuing to create a connection. How do you create that connection? Leveraging social media, right? Social media is your connection. Facebook Messenger is your connection. Posting is your connection. You know, liking, commenting, sharing things, that's your connection. That's the day and age of social media and the influencer. That is the most important piece of this, I think, that ultimately you connect with. Now, you know, you don't have to do it. Donna doesn't do it. She's done 120 deals, but you know what Donna does? She has a video in her intro email. She does a follow-up video after she's given them a CMA, and she literally produces a CMA for every single lead that comes in. It is an extremely time-consuming process. For me, that is not, you know, ultimately, you got to dictate what your life is going to be like and ultimately how much time you're willing to invest in your daily schedule. I'm looking for the highest scalable process possible where I can create the most amount of influence. And I think most realtors are as they're trying to scale and get larger and build teams. You know, Larry, you're a great example of that as well. I mean, go look at Larry White's page. You know, you got nothing but on there that's content. So I think the key is figuring out how you can tap into that essentially, because once you get them in that personal place of Facebook, that's where you're most consistent with all your posts anyways. And if you're not, think about just at the start being consistent with 1 or 2 things a day. Think about something motivational, inspirational, something that's real, you know, share something you're out there. You know, it's just something that you want to be, again, raw, real, and relatable. And I think that ultimately comes down to, you know, just being you, being authentic.
If I may, guys, I came across a very interesting article trying to tap into the various platforms. And I ultimately found out that by 2020, we're already there. 72% of all the marketing is going to be done through video. So we're where we should be, right? But something very interesting to dissect both Facebook and Instagram. As you mentioned, Logan, Instagram is going to be for the millennials, right? So what I'm doing is I'm sending out videos. I'm creating these very short 1-minute videos, 1.5 minutes, where more than anything, I'm providing educational information and I'm sending it out, boosting it out every 2 weeks. Boom, I'm sending it out. But when it comes to Instagram, because this was advice, as Logan mentioned, it's a different crowd. It's a completely different crowd. So what I do is I do a very informal video of approximately 30 seconds where I'm basically interviewing another colleague of mine as if we're having coffee. Hey, so what's the interest rate right now? I think it's 4.5. Well, that is awesome. That means that more people are going to be able to buy homes for less money. Yeah, that is easy. Hey, by the way, I'm leaving. Boom, take off. And that is a video that I send to Instagram. Shorter, more concise to the type of public that we're trying to hit. I just wanted to make that observation. I came across that a very interesting article a couple of days ago.
It's a wonderful observation, and I think that's absolutely to the point where it's very similar to when we're even looking at something like when people are choosing which referral to use on their page. You'll get somebody who has a 3 or 4 line referral or review, and it's like, oh, it's glowing, it's warm. Nobody's going to read even the first 3 words of that because it's too long. If it's 3 words, if it's a short sentence, people are more likely to read the entire sentence. If it's a paragraph, people aren't going to even read the first word. Yeah. So it's very similar with video content. You have to kind of translate that into the video realm. If somebody looks at it and it shows that it's a 3-minute video, what's the likelihood of them even clicking play? It's highly unlikely. This day and age, especially with millennials, you've already lost their attention. So something like that where it's engaging, it's quick, it's informative. If you can get some key stats or something within the first 5 seconds, they may be more intrigued to keep watching it. If they know that they're only investing 30 seconds of their time, I think that's perfect. And just kind of further tapping into the rest of the model that we're really kind of trying to preach here is that everybody, when you get into real estate, obviously your key goal is to help people buy and sell homes. Transactions are the key goal, but the most important thing is relationship building. Right? You can never forget the most important key, the track that leads you down the right path of converting those leads and turning people into transactions is building that relationship. So you need to be somebody that they want to work with. I always put this as they're choosing a 3 or 6 month friend, right? You're about to become their friend for hopefully a longer period of time than that, but they better like you right away, and you need to differentiate yourself. And the 9-month drip campaign that we've got created, I think it's best used as a mechanism to deliver your content. Right now, it's default. It's already filled up with useful information. Great, but it's no different than any other realtor is going to send them. So take the mechanism in place and start really making yourself heard. embed video in each and every one of those if you can. Make sure that, I mean, you know, being top of mind is incredibly important. Maybe somebody wasn't ready to sell now, the month 6 email hits them, and maybe it's just enough fluff article to get them going. But how much more powerful would it be if it's you again, right? A video, they want to see your face, your personality, they want to remember you. You need to create those relationships, exactly like we're mentioning with the email drips on Facebook. The more visible you can be. Just one last thing, you know, Jackie was asking here about, you know, the targeted area and how to get more views on her ad. Well, why not run a contest? The contests work for 2 very big reasons. First and foremost, you're going to hit your sphere of influence, which obviously everyone that you know is connected to somebody else who's connected to somebody else. And if there is the possibility of winning, you know, a $25, $50 gift card, what's the likelihood of them just sharing organically? And even if they're not ready to buy or sell, that's fine. Somebody that they know, who now that they're liking and sharing your ad on their page, they may hit on somebody organically for you. So that's the first step of running a contest, is you enhance your exposure that way. But also think of the benefit of announcing that winner. Right now, you're going to announce to every single person who's seen this ad, who's entered that contest, so to speak, that I'm going live 2 o'clock this Friday to announce the winner. I hope to see you all there. You go live, boom, you're now getting announced to everybody who's following that post that you're about to go live. Right now, you're quickly use that opportunity to introduce yourself again. You highlight the market stats that you're in or something like that. You become that expert. Then you announce the winner, you know, and before people sign off, you have that opportunity to introduce yourself to a much larger audience of people that you wouldn't have otherwise found. So definitely something worth trying.
Awesome, guys. It is the top of the hour, so we are going to respect your time, but feel free to reach out to us individually with a Facebook message if you have more questions or anything that you want to talk about or elaborate on what you just learned today. Have a great day. We'll talk soon.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
See you soon.